Well, let's continue this discussion by honing in on what those warnings mean for Africa. The continent has already warmed by more than 1 degree Celsius since 1901. NJ Ayuk, the executive chairman of the African Energy Chamber, joins me now from Johannesburg. NJ Ayuk, thank you so much for joining me on Channels Business Global. We've had a stark warning, so I'll ask you a stark question. Has Africa been cropped out of the climate change debate?
Thank you for having me on your channel. I think Africa has been cropped out of the climate debate. African leaders are not engaged on this debate as they should be. Africa is one of the continents that is going to be hurt the most when it comes to the climate issue. Africa is going to lose a lot of money, a lot of current money coming in from oil and gas and coal. Africa still is going to have to deal with some of the climate issues, whether on the environment, agriculture, but the debate is being shifted into Western countries, and it is not being dealt with in Africa, and really having African voices and African opinions being heard on this debate that is going to affect us the most. They are just telling us what they want us to do. I think it makes sense when you ask Africans, what do you want?
Absolutely. I know you're familiar with a lot of the big names in oil and gas. And thank you for mentioning heads of states, because I did want to ask, is this being discussed around boardrooms? I'm here in London, and you can't, go anywhere without anybody talking about the climate emergency and the transition. We've had the big oil tycoons saying, they're transitioning. Are you hearing this? Is the warning that we heard earlier this week being taken seriously on the continent?
I think it's not being taken seriously in the continent as of now. We are not seeing that fierce urgency of now. We've not been properly educated by what's going on. We think when you talk about climate change, people are thinking, well, maybe it's not going to snow too much in Norway, so that's not an eye issue. But we're not understanding that for the most part, African states, we are being affected. Agricultural bases around Zimbabwe, north of Mali, are being affected by the climate. We have to deal with that. Water, we have to deal with that. But also, our economies, when you look at shutting down oil and gas, when you look at taking out coal, how are we going to prevent some kind of austerity from happening? How are we going to ensure stability from happening? Our generation is tired of having wars all the time because of resources. How are we going to engage this shift? But also, we have to get back to the fundamental question. Africa has emitted just under 2% of what the developed world has done. Europe as a whole has done 20 times more than Africa. The United States, 25 times more than Africa. China and India, even more. But right now, the question is, after all this damage has been done, and they have done an amazing things with driving technologies and built their economies, and something which we all appreciate. But then we've been the victims of that. And then at this moment, when it's just time for Africa to take off, we stand in a position where we've been told, you have to repair the earth. You have to stop your resources. You have to back out, and you have to pay reparations to those who use your resources to build their economy. There's something fundamentally unfair with that.
Thank you so much. NJ Ayuk, the executive chairman at the African Energy Chamber. Thank you so much for joining me on Channels Business.